Hello, welcome to geometry. Go ahead and take out your worksheet. Make sure you have that in front of you. Make sure you have your book in front of you. I'm gonna move my podium over. I have the book in front of me. Today we're just gonna talk about properties and how that will pertain to your worksheet. So here we have the different properties. I went ahead and put them in two categories because here it's talking about types of parallelograms. There are 4 different types. It's a rectangle, the rhombus, the square. I actually believe those are 3. So here for rectangles, we have 2 different type of properties. For the rectangle, we have here, if one of the angles is a right angle, that makes it a rectangle. Because if one angle is 90 degrees, all 4 of them is 90 degrees. So you have to, make sure, see, sometimes they'll have like 3x equals something. You're gonna find different ways to see if that's a right triangle, or right angle, sorry. If you have rectangles and you're dealing with angles, you have to make sure it has to be a right. Next one, diagonals. So it's the lines that cut across. If the diagonals are congruent, so if they're the same number, then they are a rectangle. Here, if you have a line here and here, so let's say this whole line is 10. That means this is 5 and this is 5. That means this is 5 and this is also 5. So that means all the measurements are all the same. So here, make sure they're the same thing. Also, when you're dealing with equations, they're not always going to have it easy, like what is the measurement of one side if it's 10? That means it'll be 5 because it's half of it. But here in this case, if they're congruent, you always set them equal to each other. So you always try to double check if they are congruent. So that means if this is 3x plus 5 and this is 2x plus 5 and they say to find the measurement, what you will do is you will set both of them equal to each other. If they are congruent, they are equal to each other. Rhombus, if a neighbor sides, so not sides are across, just side by side, they're called consecutive sides. If they are congruent, so that symbol right there, if they're congruent, it's a rhombus. So if this side is 7 and this side is 7, that means it's a rhombus. If this is 7 and this is 8 and this is 8, it's not a rhombus. Next one, the diagonals that you create, they're not congruent like the rectangle. But if you have diagonals and they create 90-degree angles, that means it's a rhombus. Remember, if one angle is 90, all 4 of them are 90. So if this is 90, this one and this one and this one, the 3 remaining angles will also be 90. Last one, diagonal bisects angles. That means it cuts it exactly in half. And to double check that, sometimes I'll ask you, if this is 65, what does this have to be so the line, can bisect it. So then you have to check and see how it's gonna be. Here, it bisects it, meaning bisect always comes from the word cut in half. So it's exactly half the angle. So if this angle is 90, if you're cutting in half, that's 45 on one side, 45 on the other side. So for you to find out if they're congruent, that means the numbers have to be the same on both sides. They're not gonna give you 90 for one angle, and then you'll have one problem like that in your worksheet. So now let's go ahead and do just 2 examples, and the rest of them you're going to do your worksheet. I didn't do all of them because it doesn't pertain to your worksheet, so I want you to work on it as much as you can, and your questions will be involving what's on the worksheet and what's on the board here. Example 1. Here it's like yes or no questions. They're asking you, is it a rhombus or not? So what you do, you check if it's a rhombus or not. Here they're saying rhombus, question mark. I just made it easier for you. X equals 11. So they're saying, is it a rhombus if x equals 11? We know one side is 30. The other side is 3x plus 4. According to the property here, one of the properties, it says the neighbor sides have to be congruent for it to be a rhombus. So here, to check it, we have what x is. We're not going to set these equal to each other because we already have what x is. And that's what they gave us in the problem on the book. So to find the side, we're going to plug in x for 11 and solve for it. And when we solve for it, we have 29. So one side is 29 and the other side is 30. No, it's not a rhombus. It is. So it's a rhombus? Nope. Because the sides are not congruent, the sides are not the same number. Example 3, and then we're done. Here it's saying, is it a rhombus? So here looking at this, we have measurements here. They're not giving us any numbers on the side. That means we're not focusing on the sides at all. So like the 3 different properties here, the last 2 talk about angles. So here they're only giving us 2 angles. It must be one of these 2 properties. According to this property right here, the diagonals, if they make right angles, then they are a rhombus. So here we have 50 degrees, we have 40 degrees, but we don't have anything for here. So let's go ahead and find that. If I were to take that triangle out, I get 50 and 40, and I'll just put X there. I don't have anything there. We know that the sum of the triangles equals 180. So then we go ahead and find it. 50, that's the first one. 40, that's the second one. And X, that's the third one, equals 180. So you're trying to take a triangle out and then try to solve for the sides. Again, the sum of the angles equal 180. So then you get 90 plus X equals 180. You subtract both sides to get X by itself, and you have X is equal to 90 degrees. 90 degrees equal right angle. So that means this angle right here is a right angle. If this is a right angle, all of them are right angles. So that means they create perpendicular lines. So here, is it a rhombus? Yes. On your quiz, make sure you're actually doing the work and try to see why it's a rhombus. Again, for the test on Friday, it's going to be a review on everything you've learned. So I would recommend you having the worksheets in front of you so you know what you're doing. If you have any questions, go ahead and email me down there. I love you guys. Miss you.